Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Scheidecker, and for today's video, I would like to discuss our way forward. So, as we all know, there's just so much going on in the world right now, and it's causing us a lot of, unnecessary stress and pressures in our life. I notice even myself, I wake up and, I just have intrusive thoughts about, what's going on in the world, just all of these things, right? And I ask myself, what is our way forward here? Which direction are we heading in collectively? What's our next 10 years going to look like? And, from just a perspective of what we're being told, it doesn't seem super bright, right? Just think about this for a second. We had a pandemic, into a war, and now into an economic crisis. It's just one thing after another. It just keeps piling up, more and more stress, more and more pressure on us, the people. And I ask myself, what is our way forward here? And I've realized that, we have a very important choice to make. We can either continue to keep doing what we're doing right now, and that will lead to just very hard times, to be frank, just very hard times. Or we can step into our power right now and take back what's ours. I feel like a great solution right now is to just, we need to reunite our communities. I remember before lockdown, there was so much more engagement everywhere. You know what I mean? It was normal to, say hi to people in the store, or, just get together with friends more often, right? But then since the lockdown happened, we all kind of isolated. And I talked about in my last video how I feel like isolation is a really important, time to heal yourself. And, simultaneously while we're healing ourselves, we can also be reconnecting and building back our, our tribes. Because remember, in history, if you look at history, that's what human beings have always originated in, small tribes. It's always been small tribes. It's never been, large empires have never really worked for humanity, have they? Because if you look at everything, they say empires only last 250 years. Well, that's, kind of where, America is right now, at least from where I'm from, is we're kind of reaching our 250-year expiration mark of, an empire being able to sustainably control and contain themselves before, deteriorating. That's just, the way things work. Nothing lasts forever. So, at a very important time in history right now where, the height of the U.S. empire is kind of coming down, and we're kind of seeing this play out. You see it play out through politics and through media. I'm sure you ask yourself, why does everything feel so, strange and different right now? It didn't normally feel like this. Well, that's because it is different this time. You're starting to be able to see, the fabrications behind things. You're starting to be able to see, different ulterior motives that you may not have noticed before. And the idea of our way forward, we can either choose. We have a choice here. That's what's the most important thing, is we can choose what we want, Don't feel like we're being forced into this, because we're the ones who have the power to choose. And, especially for my younger folk, I'm 21 right now. And so, this message is for everybody, but really I'm speaking towards my fellow peers, who are around the same age as me. We're kind of becoming adults, we're transitioning from, being in high school and college and going into the real world as young adults. And, we have a lot more responsibility now. And we can either choose to take account for ourselves, we can either choose to make time for ourselves, or, things will make time for us. Like, we either can choose to do things now, or things will choose us later. Like, we won't have a choice later, is what I'm trying to say. So, one idea, one to branch out off that, health, right? We can either choose to, consciously be aware of how we're taking care of ourselves, both mentally and physically, right? We can either choose to take account for that now, or we can let ourselves deteriorate and, just not be in optimal condition. I feel like health should all be our number one priorities, because if we can, if we can take better care of ourselves, then we can take better care of others. Like, you have to be able to help yourself before you help other people, right? So, like, if we all, took more time to work on our own little problems and issues, that would create more space to help other people, and in turn, like, we would just be able to have more of an impact, right? Like, for all my people out there who, really feel called to, provide some sort of service to be able to help somebody out there, regardless of, how you feel about things, help yourself first. You're your number one priority right now. By helping yourself, you're doing so much work that will in turn then help other people eventually. Like, you can't love unless you learn to love yourself first, right? Because you have to know how to love. And so, the idea of moving forward, like our way forward, you see like the economy, right? How prices are going up. And, this seems to be a big deal to a lot of people. And, I mean, it is, right? It affects us all. In some sort of way, it affects us all. But realize that this economic, this inflation, this would not affect us as much if we were more sustainable with ourselves. Like, if we were able to provide for ourselves more. Like me, for example, I guess, one of the ways that, this is affecting me the most is food prices, right? Like, having to go to the grocery store and, buy food, like, it's more expensive now. Well, imagine if everybody grew their own food. Imagine if we all had our own farms. Then we wouldn't, we wouldn't even pay mind to the increased food prices, because we wouldn't buy from them. We would buy from us, right? We could grow it for free. It's like printing money. And so, the idea of moving forward, like, we're such capable beings, right? Like, we're so capable of so many things. Like, look around in the world, like, all like the big, skyscrapers and all these big organizations and all this beautiful art and all this beautiful music, that all came from a human being, We are all created equal, so what somebody can do, somebody else can do too. And realize that you're very capable of doing exactly what you want to do and need to do. And I feel like if we all took steps in the direction of just being able to rely on ourselves more, we wouldn't need these systems in place, right? Like, imagine if we created our own currency. That kind of happened with Bitcoin, but imagine even on a smaller scale, just like a local scale. Imagine if we created our own currency. Imagine if we started growing our own food. Imagine if we started building our own communities so we didn't have to pay rent anymore. I know rent is a big deal to a lot of people. Imagine if we didn't have to do that anymore. What kind of place would that be? Like, how much more peaceful would you be? Imagine living in a place, in a community, right? In your own house, where everybody around you is focused on just bettering their lives, improving themselves, not having to worry about as many things. Like, imagine living in a place where you grow your own food, your town, your community, you have your own currency, You know, your town makes all of the things that you need. They make clothes, they make art, bakeries, restaurants, all that stuff. Imagine how much more peaceful it would be for you. Because I know, for speaking from experience, you wake up every day and like your thoughts are on like, how am I gonna afford this or afford that. Like you're stressing about exterior things more than you are focusing on yourself, right? And so just imagine like living in a place where you had all of those things taken care of. How much more peaceful would your life be? Would you be able to go and start something new, do something that you've been wanting to do for the longest time? And so this is a message to my fellow humans. Like, what kind of future are we creating for ourselves here? Do we want less and less freedom? Do we want to give up all of our power and give it to somebody else for safety reasons? Because I'm sure everybody agrees this is not, whatever the future is holding for us, this is not what we want. We don't want our liberties taken from us. We don't want to be controlled. We don't want to have to pay all this money to somebody else. We're naturally abundant people, naturally abundant beings. And that means that we have the power to, bring abundance into our own lives, all by ourselves. And so I just want everybody out there to be thinking about, your future. Like, what you do in your daily routine, like your entire daily routine, predicts your future, right? So, if you're getting up every day and doing what you are supposed to be doing, then you're going to see results, period. Like, you're just going to see results. But, if you're getting up every day and you're staying in your comfort zone and, taking it easy today, what do you expect to come of that? And I'm not saying, you need to be going all the time, like going 100 miles an hour all the time, because some of the best realizations in my life have come from just sitting around and, just breathing. Just being outside in nature and looking at the birds and looking at the branches in the trees, how they move with the wind. It's about balance, And so think about your daily routine. Is what you're doing every day, is that accelerating you towards, your deepest heart's desires? Is that accelerating you towards the life that you want or the life that you don't want? It's like, man, like, are you excited to wake up every day and continue on that path and, continue building your dreams? Like, you're literally bringing your dreams to life. Or are you waking up every day and, kind of hating where you are at? Kind of not liking your situation as much. Like, man, like, I really wish things were another way. Like, think about that. And realize that if you are in a place where you don't feel like, you're headed in the direction that you want to, realize that, you have every cell in your body capable to make that change, to become better. And, to add on to the topic of going forward, of moving into the future, right? We need to study. We need to look at history, right? Because don't they say that history repeats itself? And so aren't you bound to repeat yourself if you're not informed of your previous mistakes? That's what's really important right now. And if you look at, kind of our recent history in humanity, it just seems like it's this cycle that we're in of continually building up and then crashing back down and doing that over and over again. And, I feel like we're not even aware of this stuff. And so now that we're in a point in our lives, in our societies where the old system is kind of collapsing, that doesn't mean that everything's going to shit, right? That doesn't mean that, the world's going to be in utter chaos, because energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's only transferred. So realize that nothing is going away here. It's only transforming. That's what's really going on here. This experience that we're in right now, all of these different, kind of narratives that are being thrown at us, realize that it's a transformation. Just like how, us as people, like every day we're transforming. Like if you're trying to, evolve to your next level, like every day you're a little bit different, right? And so every day the world is changing slightly and slightly, and it's transforming. And it'll transform to whatever that we want it to. And so I just say that, if we spend more time focusing on the positives and the good things that we want to create on planet Earth, then those will come true, because that's where our energy will be directed at. This planet is a world of duality, right? Don't you always hear people say like, oh, this is hell on earth, or oh, this is heaven on earth? Like I feel like I'm in heaven right now. This is a place of duality. Earth is a place of duality. Yin yang. It can go either way, and it's both ways at the same time. But we have the power to actively choose which side, we're kind of leaning towards. And right now, it is such a powerful time. There's so many people on Earth right now who are having these same thoughts, these same similar thoughts. I know I'm not the only one. And it's just really powerful right now, because I feel like we're all discovering our own powers. We're all discovering who we are as people, just spending more time with yourself. Like after, being in isolation for the last 2 years, right? I'm sure you know yourself a little bit better right now. And so, yeah, we're all on the same, I feel like everybody's on the same wavelength in a sense, where we're all different expressions, we're all expressing something different, but I feel like collectively we're all kind of thinking the same thing. Like, it's time to return to community. It's time to return to the love vibration, where, we can have free food, we can have free shelter on the streets, right? Because we can set ourselves up in that way. Everything is so much about money, like, oh, we can't afford this, we can't afford that. What if we made systems where, like, we could, like, I guess, economically, like, we could do some things and have restaurants that are just, like, free. Just free food. For anybody who needs it. A free place for anybody to sleep at. Regardless of what you're going through. We can have people there to help you. Imagine if we did those things. Like, what would the world be like? With no more homeless people and no more starving people. I feel like it would be such a better place. And if we're able, if people are able to, go to space and all this stuff, right? If people are able to have entire corporations where they can just fly rockets and stuff, like if you can build a rocket and go to space and all that stuff, why can't we just open, places for free food and free shelter? Like, that doesn't seem like rocket science to me. And so, these are just things to think about. These are just things to think about and ponder about. Like, I really do have the power to make a change. I really do have the power to make a positive impact on other people. And I feel like it's so